What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Talk Your Grit Show. I'm your host, Andy Kaysen, and alongside of me, the executive producer extraordinaire, Sloppy Joe Mazer. And you're listening to the Talk Your Grit Show. What's up, guys? Hey, we're back, man. Episode 2.
There it is.
Let's go, man. Hey, I was excited to get this episode in. We got a big time episode. We have a very special guest coming on today. And first things first, we want to run down episode 1. Joe, did you get any feedback on our first episode?
I got a little feedback. So far, so good. I think, that's
Very positive comments. Yeah. Absolutely. As you can see, we're not in the same location.
We changed it up a little bit.
We took that critiquing and moved our location for this episode to see if, this might be a little bit better, a little bit brighter. And hopefully it turns out good.
I hope so. We'll see what happens.
So with episode 1, we ran down what the show was going to be about, what the motivation behind it was, and I think it's really going to come into fruition with this episode right here. Once we get this guy on, we bring him in, he's going to tell his story, and hopefully that impacts somebody, whether it's 20 people or one person, right? Yeah. Hopefully it impacts them in a positive way. And they can take away from this and help them out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Joe, we talked a little bit about sponsors on the first episode. We have an official sponsor right now.
In this episode, we do have an official sponsor.
And that official sponsor is
Lolo's Pizzeria.
You heard it, folks. You know that, Joe, with Joe's background, he's a pizza guy, right? He's a pizza guy. His company has stepped up and they want to sponsor the Talk Your Grit Show. So we are very appreciative of that. And I was continue looking for more sponsors.
Absolutely. So without further ado, here's a message from our sponsors, I guess.
Here we go.
Yeah, ay, I'm cooking pies with my mans, ayy. Can't fit these pies on these pans, ayy. Fresh all the way to the dough, ayy. That ain't enough cheese anymore, yeah. We whipping that garlic sauce, the best in the cake, we the boss. We're easy to find, don't get lost. Chiquita and Gleason, we're sitting across, yeah. For stretching the sauce in the top and the throwing it in the brick oven. We spending time on these pies, we ain't telling no lies. We showing each one of them loving. We'll end the discussion, ain't bragging, but yeah, we got voted the best. Hit up on the sweet sauce and you'll be obsessed. We got Pepsi products and you'll be refreshed. So slide through a few chillin' in the Southwest. Look at these, munch on these, look at these, munch on these, yeah, look at these, munch on these, look at these, munch on these, yeah, look at these, munch on these, look at these, munch on these, yeah, look at these, munch on these, look at these, munch on these, yeah. We making pies to the doors shut. That little pie got a 6 cut. 25 minutes is this quick. Get it to go for a picnic. Yeah, find some coupons for the clearance. I'm out here feeding your parents.
And we're back with our special guest. Man, I've been waiting to get this guy on here. His story is one of the most inspiring, motivational stories you're going to hear. And I wanted you guys to hear it come out of his mouth. So without any further ado, please allow me to introduce you to our special guest, Mr. Ryan Raftery. Ryan, it's so awesome to have you on, man.
Andy, Joe, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. I am looking forward to this conversation. Just for one little bit of a background about Ryan. We both come from similar areas, right? You're from the 352. I'm from the 352. You're from the Ocala area, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I'm from Bushnell,
which I still have family in Bushnell now.
Exactly. So when I moved to Cape Coral and, started coaching here at the Storms Field, and I meet this, just another kid that I'm coaching, right? And I started to get to know him and his family, and, damn, we run in similar circles. He knows a lot of the same people that I know from Bushnell. He's got, his family lives there. So they hang out with guys that I just grew up.
Oh yeah,
and went to high school with.
I'll never forget. I got your phone number, and it was a 352 area code. And I'm like, dude, you're from Ocala? And he's like, no, I'm from this small town you probably never heard of. And I'm like, my brother lives there.
Yep.
Yeah, both my parents are buried there. Not to make it dark, but
yeah, it's a family spot, right?
Yeah,
Bushnell is a very special town.
Oh yeah,
put it that way. Mm-hmm. But Ryan, so I met you through the football field. You have 2 sons.
Yes, sir.
Wife, beautiful family here. So how long have you been in Cape Coral?
We've been here right around in this house, I think 13 years. So quite a while. I grew up in Ocala, like you said. And then my wife and I met in Massachusetts. And
Massachusetts.
yeah,
How did Ocala guy end up in Massachusetts?
my dad and both my brothers moved there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I went there to like kind of get to know my dad like later in life. And then because I was 19, and like left the nest, so to speak. And then Nicole and I met and then moved to Florida, moved back to Massachusetts, moved to Florida, moved back to Massachusetts.
That's
then
a lot of moving.
Eventually we moved 10 times in the first 10 years we were together.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And then like my younger son, Patrick, he is born in Port Charlotte.
Oh,
So he's like from Florida. Colin, my older son, he was born in Plymouth. So
all right.
after his 6-week appointment, we moved back.
You had to get down south.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's way too cold.
So you didn't pick up an accent or anything
No.
while you were there?
They used to tell me I had an accent there, you
Yeah.
know, which I probably do, but
Well, of course. It's Southern boy going up.
yeah, they have an accent. Like
They
okay,
have,
we've all seen Ted, okay?
okay. Yeah. You got any TED experiences while you were there?
Only at Best Buy, they were looking for backyard baseball, which I was
What?
like, yeah. The lady came in, she's like, yeah, you got backyard baseball? I'm like, excuse me? I'm like, no, we're all out of whatever you're looking for, ma'am. And then she was saying backyard.
Backyard baseball.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you just told her you didn't have it.
Yeah. That was kind of my move anyway when I worked there. Like, you would come in for something and I would walk around the corner and then walk back and go, yeah, we're all out. It's needless to say my career at Best Buy wasn't very good.
I took so
Yeah.
you went from Best Buy, and then when did you get into music?
I honestly, like, it's kind of like a not a trick question, but like, I played drums. I'm 44. I've played drums since I'm in the 6th grade.
Okay.
So I'm not super good at math, but a long time. And I was in like the middle school, like marching band is kind of how it started.
You were in the marching band.
Yeah.
All right.
And then played all through middle school. And then in high school, at Bellevue.
Bellevue, not the insane asylum.
Right.
This is a town.
Yeah. I played our freshman year of football.
Okay.
And then also wanted to play music. So I picked back up on drums. And the longtime coach there, Coach Hall, he's actually in the high school sports Hall of Fame. Like, you know what I mean? Like he had won national or state titles with another team in Ocala, like when they wore leather helmets. Like, he was an old school dude that came back to coach.
Yeah.
He sat me down one day. I was like, son, if you want to go to college, play music. He's like, you're too slow and you don't have that killer instinct. You're a better drummer than a football player.
We just kept it real with you.
Yeah. He was the greatest, because on the flip side of the coin, like back then I was like, wow, it kind of sucks, but he's got a point, and I didn't grow up playing football. Like, I played baseball and stuff, but I didn't grow up. My freshman year of football was the first time I had ever played football. Like, I didn't have Pop Warner experience. I didn't have any of that. So I really appreciated him saying that. So anyway, he did all that. And then music's brought me to places that, no offense to football, that football would have never brought me.
Right.
And I mean, I've played with huge bands. I've played with like in great stages. I played in tiny stages, you name it, like the whole gamut. And again, the amount of people I've met from it, it's incredible.
You meet some really interesting people.
Oh yeah.
Industries.
Yeah. And as a drummer, I love anything and everything,
Well, that's the kind of what drew me to you, other than the fact that we're both from the same area, but your personality, you stand out in a crowd. That's for sure. You are probably the funniest, most genuinely sweet guy I've met since I came down here. And you get that through entertaining and meeting so many different people. You don't try to conform to the crowd that you're in. You're you 24/7.
Yeah, it's a good thing and a bad thing.
Well, it's to me personally, it's been a good.
It's a blessing and a curse, just that's my wife.
Well, damn. All right, so band, right? So you were in the marching band throughout high school. When did you start? Yes, I know. If you follow Ryan on social media, you post a lot of stuff, a lot of pictures, and recently you posted a picture in front of the K&K studios in Ocala.
Yeah.
That is a place that I hold near and dear to my heart for something completely different.
Yep.
But it's really cool to know that we both were stomping around inside that.
We probably walked past each other.
Probably.
And that was the thing. I was in a band before I moved to Massachusetts that wound up doing pretty well, like doing some world tours. Like once I left, 7-star, right? And actually, my really good buddy Dallas will circle back to this. When I told the band that I was leaving and going to Massachusetts, it was actually in his bedroom. And he had been at the time in the band Under Oath. He's in another band now, Maylene. And I met him at K&K. Okay. And we're like lifelong friends to this day.
Yeah.
And it was weird because the area, like there was no like punk rock or hardcore or anything going on. Like to the folks watching or listening at home, A Day to Remember didn't exist because they're from Ocala.
Yeah.
And they're huge. You know what I mean? Like they were like not a thing. So all of us weirdos and our friend, you know what I mean? You played this aggressive music that even my mom was like, oh, it sounds great, but I can't understand the vocal. And like we record demo tapes in our living rooms and stuff. And like it was totally DIY thing. And we kind of put Ocala on the map as far as music went. And K&K was very much a part of that story.
Yeah.
And like sitting there, I told my wife the story about another band, Shia Lude, had come up from Miami to play. And the dude that owned the place, like they were guaranteed like at least to cover expenses.
Mm-hmm.
And they like got ripped off. Like we were trying to like sell like mixtapes and stuff to like just to get them home. It was like that's how, I mean, we would play shows throughout Florida and like I would borrow my grandmother's Lumina and put my drum set in it. And like we would pay for the tolls with like the change that we sold, like sold merch. Like we had stickers and tapes that we would dub.
So Joe, let me try to paint this picture for you, right? For the K&K, it's behind like a Wendy's, right?
Yeah.
This old like industrial type building.
It's like a giant warehouse.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And when I walked in for the first time, I'm there to wrestle, right? And it was Sunday night. Every Sunday night they put on shows. And this concert, it is so tiny. So it's like, I think it's like 20 feet wide because I want to say our wrestling ring was 16 by 16. I don't think we had the 18. And I could literally, I did this in a match. I picked a kid up and I threw him into the wall from inside the ring and smacked him off the wall. That's how big this place was.
It was weird.
It was, it just had that grungy feel. The walls, all the walls were black. The stage was black. Everything was black.
And in the back, like to the left, they had these like, because they kept saying it was a studio. Yeah. It wasn't. But like in the back, you could rent the rehearsal space and we would practice in there. And I think that's part of the reason I'm partially deaf was like, it was the size of this table. Yeah. We were playing loud, you know.
I tell you what, for as small as that place was, the crowds were always rowdy.
Oh, yeah. Same thing with shows. Rowdy. Some of the best. We would bring, like, again, my buddy Dallas, he booked, like, national bands through there. It was crazy. Like, in this tiny little, like, it was terrible, honestly. Like,
and so, man, that's about the only time I've ever been really scared of another wrestler's gimmick, right? So he comes out to, it's a German rock band.
Rammstein?
Yes.
Yep.
It's got the whistle at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not going to try to do it, but the lights go out. It's already pitch black because everything's black in there.
Oh yeah. It was on a sunny day. It was like awful.
Yeah. You think you're about to get murdered inside this building. It's how like grungy it was. And, he comes out and, we wrestle. He hits me in the head with a laptop computer and I tried to powerbomb him through some a table with thumbtacks. Well, he ends up kicking the table over. Then we both go to the thumbtacks. It's like you had to do that kind of style of match to fit into that kind of crowd. That's how crazy these people were.
Yeah, we built different.
It wasn't like a regular like 80s or 90s wrestling show where you got guys in flamboyant colors coming out. Everybody wore black. Everybody wore, I don't know, nothing flashy.
Right.
It was nothing. It was grungy. It was dark. It was gritty. And you were going to beat the shit out of him. So, that's K&K to me.
Yeah.
I wrestled from, I want to say, 2004 to 2006, almost every Sunday. And
That's awesome.
we had to cross
Yeah.
paths. Some
Funny side note, I always thought like if I came into some money, like with the lottery or something, I would buy the building and like put shows back
Yeah.
on and like,
because
yeah,
is it like is it like a
it looks like abandoned.
It's abandoned.
Because I was just there, a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I got to stop by this place real quick.
That's awesome.
It was weird, like, but super cool.
So, besides the drums, do you play any other instruments? No, just the drums.
Just real.
All right, so we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this top three. Who's your top three drummers? I guess I'm gonna say
Top three.
your biggest influences.
That's like asking what my favorite child is.
Can you do five?
Maybe. I don't know. I could probably do three. Influential or like just favorite drummers.
Let's do favorites.
All right. Favorite Jimmy Chamberlain from the Smashing Pumpkins.
Okay.
He plays a lot of like unorthodox stuff that probably gets lost in the sauce because people don't like Billy Corgan, which is fine.
Yeah.
I get it. But
Billy Corgan, the wrestling promoter. Not
yeah, the singer.
Jeez.
Yeah. See, I told you.
Everything just ties together.
Well, and then everybody feels some kind of way about him. You either like him or you don't.
Yeah.
You get it, Joe. So, but I love his drumming. It's like he brought at grunge in that era, and we'll throw Dave Grohl in the mix because I was a big Nirvana guy. And then present day probably Thomas Pridgen, who he's in Fever 333 now, but he was in the Mars Volta for a minute, and those are two bands that probably not everybody's super familiar with, but he's like, I don't know. Yeah, he's very unorthodox,
Yeah.
and like some of the stuff he plays is like unbelievable, and like either it inspires you or you're like, all right, time to hang it up. Like
Forgive my ignorance. Who's the guy from Def Leppard?
yeah,
One hand.
something Jeff Allen, Mike Allen, something Allen.
Yeah, but that's pretty crazy.
Oh, he does all that with his feet. It's insane.
That's awesome.
Because regular drummers, well, like you have a standard kick drum and your hi-hat or like a double pedal, like for double bass. But he plays, I don't even know how it's routed, but like a multitude of other things with his feet, so.
So, how I learned the term, what a hi-hat was?
Hmm?
Because you take a guess.
No.
Ice Ice Baby, man.
That
Makes sense. Yeah, I've never played the drums or anything like that, but with vanilla.
No, it's fine.
Hi-hat with souped up.
So tempo, I'm on a roll.
There you go.
Time to go solo.
That's it, man.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Good stuff. So, how many bands have you been in?
I don't even know.
Yeah?
Honestly, like I did a band for a short time in Massachusetts before we moved back.
So I won't put you on the spot and just ask you which one was your favorite.
You're right.
You might diss
That one might have been my favorite. It was a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one had the coolest name? Which one did you like the most? I know you're shenanigans with.
Yeah, like that one's got the coolest name because it was like, and I'd like to say it was calculated, but it wasn't. But it was like a play on an Irish wake. Like everything was like funny. You know what I mean? Like it was like a joke, like kind of like tongue in cheek, poking fun at death. Because we played a lot of like Irish standards, and all those songs are super depressing. Like when you read the words, because they're all about everybody dying. So that was a good one. That's up there. And that's the most recent band.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like it.
That was fun. And we're on a hiatus right now.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We'll go through that stuff.
Yeah. We got to tune it back up for St. Patrick's Day, basically.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
We're going to talk.
Okay. All right.
So,
Good. Heck yeah.
So you're down here for 13 years, you said?
It's probably now close to 15 when I did some math.
Yeah.
Again, I went to Bellevue High School, so.
That's why I'm not trying to. I went to South Suffolk, man.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. We'll just leave it at 15 years.
Yeah.
15 years you've been here at Cape Coral. And, your sons are extremely talented. I know Colin.
Mhm.
And I have a very close relationship with Colin, coaching him in football. But that Joker's a badass little baseball player.
Oh, yeah. And it was funny. My wife and I, when we met, and like, you'd talk like what you want your kids to like be into or do or what have you. She comes from a football family in Massachusetts.
She's a Patriots fan.
With that too, we've all did against her. But
Tom Brady.
yeah, wicked fat kid. But so yeah, like her old high school when they built the lights there, they were named after her grandfather. Like you're talking like her uncles, her brothers, they all went through like a school smaller than South Sumter.
Okay.
You know, and like a big deal, right? So she's a football family. And then here comes Colin, who we've got to like let our kids take their own path. He just picked up on baseball, which as a baseball guy, I was like, this is awesome, you know? But again, I would love to say like I had something to do with it, but I didn't. Sandlot, the movie.
Yeah.
That had everything to do with it.
Really?
He watched that movie and it changed his life.
No way.
And even back then, my wife was like, well, you know, I don't know. Because he was like a little bit older. Because he started playing around 7.
Mm-hmm.
And we had already skipped T-ball. Like, I was like, dude, you kind of like got to go in the air with like both feet, you know, like, and bring it. And then I wound up coaching him, like, not on purpose, but you know how this stuff goes. Dudes don't show up, whatever it is. And here he, now nah, dude.
No.
He sat more than most kids. But yeah, you like get voluntold, you know, like
for sure.
you got a parking lot full of parents and they're all like, we practicing? I'm like, I guess, you know, and anybody got a baseball, you know, like, so,
Yeah.
But again, and then same with football, he came to that a little bit late, you know, like, kind of when you came on, that was like maybe his first year. I'm trying to remember. I'm not really super good with dates.
I want to say he was 10 whenever Rock first got.
Yeah.
That's when he had the skunk mullet and
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah. And that was the thing. Like, again, he hadn't like come up through the trenches with some of his other friends that had been playing from like little guys, you know? But yeah, no, he's excelled at both of those things and loves both of them. Baseball gets a slight edge to football, but he loves both of them.
Yeah.
You
Tell me
know,
about Patrick.
Patrick is,
Dude, this kid, Joe, we talk talent, right? And I'm going to tell you, I'll let Ryan tell you what his talents are, but this kid, man, he's got it. So when we talk about the it factor with what he does, this kid has got it.
so it's funny. Before I was leaving, and he's like, Dad, let me show you something real quick. He's almost finished editing his next like movie that he does. He's big into like Five Nights at Freddy's.
Okay.
So he does all his own characters. He even builds his own puppets. He makes everything. And then now he's getting big into editing. And that's the other thing that's funny. It's like with sports, because they need a ride, right? I look like sports dad, you know, like the guy, like you must be driving him to be great. And like, no, dude, I just facilitate him getting there. The rest is like on him. I've made that abundantly clear. Like, you know, you do whatever you want to do. I've always said to both my kids, you want to be a ballerina, be the best ballerina. Be whatever it is, be the best you can be at it. So where Patrick and I have a close knit thing too is art and all that because of music, you know, and ideally if it were really up to me, my kids would play drums, but it's not. So there's a drum set in my living room right now and they're like, yeah, whatever, Dad. The cool story. So yeah, but Patrick was all of
you guys do a little tag team thing that I eat up, man. So
it's been a hot minute too.
I know. I got to get back on it.
Yeah.
So what Patrick does, right? It's One Take Tony.
Yep.
Is the name of this little
You'll like this, Joe.
a little segment, right? So Patrick gets on there and he beatboxes.
Mhm.
And Brian has to match that on his drum set.
Drums.
Yeah,
and we
that's
do
pretty
it, and we do it all in one take.
Yeah.
It's a one take Tony. So it's like, hi, we're back. But again, I look back through like the social media, like even my profile and stuff. We haven't done one since November.
Y'all got to get on them.
We were doing what?
I'm a huge fan of that.
I know it was a Sunday night thing for
Yeah.
a long time. I was like, Patrick, you got a beat? He's like, give me a minute.
It's Sunday night.
I know,
Yeah, I want one tonight.
right?
Yeah.
Right? I got to tell Patrick that he got mentioned in the one take Tonys. Because, yeah, for whatever, that was the other weird thing. He loved beatboxing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just started,
Yeah.
beatbox, drums,
Yeah.
Sloppy Joe raps. Dude,
You're going to have a whole band.
the mixtape is coming, y'all.
I'll just be the hype.
Yeah, dude, you just stand there. Yeah,
I wear my clock around my.
yeah, we're gonna like a dog.
We got a mascot and everything.
Yeah, you know.
Let's go. But Patrick's also into acting
Yes,
on stage.
he starts a new play tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's I don't know what he's going to be yet in the play, but they're doing Aladdin at the Bell Theater.
Okay.
Yeah, where he was just Shrek for Shrek Jr.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and then he just finished a week with the Pine Island Playhouse out on Pine Island, and he did all tech stuff like behind the scenes, like helped with sound effects, helped with props, with moving things, painting, like getting like the backside of everything.
So interesting. I got to make it out to one of his plays.
Yeah.
The kid, I just see him through your social media stuff. So
Yeah.
talented, and probably one of the funniest people. I mean, he has a get. I mean, I don't know, Nicole. She's pretty damn funny.
Yeah, she's pretty funny.
So he
Yeah.
inherited both of that for from both of you guys.
And as a dad too, is the other like proud dad moment for a second here. Patrick's on the autism spectrum. So there was a time where I was like, you don't know what that looks like at all, right? And now, like, cause it's funny, he like clowns me for it because when they do the performances like they did Shrek, I think there's 5 total performances. I go to every single one and I sit there. And then after the show, he's like, Dad, did you cry? I'm like, yeah, I cried. He's like, I'm like, but again, like there's been behavioral therapists. There's been all these different things that changed the course of his life. So I always say like everybody wants to be Derek Jeter, but nobody wants to practice, like, so it's like, even with that, like nobody's seen the road that my wife, especially Nicole, has been the advocate for him and all these different things. So it's like, you see the finished product. So I'm sitting there like, he's the same kid that was little and we were told like is a behavior problem and all these different things. And you know what I mean? So it gets me every time, and then now he clowns me for it. So, hey, this, appreciate it, son.
He keeps it light.
Yeah. He's like,
that's, hey man, we're talking grit. You can't ignore that. I mean, that's like you said, people in question, what's he gonna do? What's he gonna do?
Yeah.
Got to go to this therapist and this specialist. And
without being too long on that subject, it was even odd when we went to the neurologist, my wife and I, they like, yeah, he's fine. I'm like, no, there's something here, like most parents like don't want to hear that news, but we were of the mind that if we could do something now, do it. Cause this is years ago, and there's still times where like, he'll get frustrated with like things being loud and stuff like that, which I guess everybody kind of gets that way, but he's a little bit more like, sometimes he needs like his me time, and we're all right with that,
So you mentioned the Five Nights at Freddy's stuff. I know nothing about that, but I have seen the characters. He made the whole costume like himself.
Oh yeah. The helmet or the top of it, the head, so to speak, that's a bucket initially. That's what he starts with.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
and then
I got to show you this.
Yeah, I'll show you some pictures.
It looks just like the movie. Like, it's crazy.
And what's funny is when the movie came out, he's like, I need to wear the costume. And I'm like, all right, fine. Again, I'm down for whatever. Like, as a dad, I'm like, easy going, dude. Like, whatever you want to do. And I didn't realize, like, because again, I'm like you. Like, he knows this stuff inside and out. But I'm like, I kind of don't know this realm, And then we're there at the movie. The movie was cool. I was like, dude, this is awesome. And then we leave. And we walk into a lobby packed full of people. And I'm like, oh my God. Because he's got his costume on.
Right.
And pictures. It was weird. It was cool. It was like, yeah, it was cool. Like, and again, proud dad moment. But I was like, I didn't even think to go, hey, like this might happen. You know what I mean? And I'm like, an hour later, getting out of the movie. Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah. And he took pictures with everybody. And like, dude, it was super cool. And again, because it's like a niche thing, but yeah, he's working on his current one now is going to be Golden Freddy, I think, is the head he's working on currently. Yeah. And then he got sidetracked because he went back to his movie, and had this movie idea. And then, but he was working on like the legs. He's going to make actual legs this time for Halloween. And like, instead of like sweatpants, yeah, he like was sculpting them out of foam. Yeah. His room is a disaster, but it's fun.
It's so cool though to see the creativity.
Oh yeah. It's incredible.
Man,
I didn't have that at that age. I don't have it now. Like,
can you Are you comfortable plugging his Instagram? Do you know it off the top of your head?
Oh yeah, he's Plushy Bro at Plushy Bro because he makes plushies. So yeah,
Check that stuff out, man. That's good.
yeah, and he does shorts, and then I think that's his YouTube too because he's moving into like making short films in a weird, like he's got a bunch of ideas. And the other thing he does that's kind of crazy is he sketches them out.
Yeah.
Like he'll sketch a storyboard and go, "All right, Dad, this is what it is," and then like he shows me. He does it all on his phone.
That's awesome.
Yeah, edit, screen screen, special effects. I'm like, I just figured out CapCut. Like
Yeah.
like a couple weeks ago. Here's my man like shooting a whole film.
Everything.
Oh yeah, he's like, I'm like, how do you do all that? Yeah, right here on my iPhone. I'm like, yeah,
Joe, we might need to put him to work.
right? Yeah, you need to. We were talking earlier. Y'all want some graphics? See, yeah, let's shoot some for you.
That's awesome.
Yep, that'd be funny.
Good stuff.
Yeah, man.
So I don't want to jump straight into your story, right?
Okay.
You're build up to it. But, I wanted to definitely touch on your family because you're a huge family guy.
Yes, sir.
Very close family. And that's, like you said, the nicest dude I've ever met, really. I mean, like, when I say that, I'm not blowing smoke.
You're making me look bad.
No, man. Like, you're real. You're genuine.
I try really hard to. Yeah.
And I'm trying not to get too depressing. Right?
Well,
When I went through my shit,
yeah,
you were one of the first people to reach out to me.
of course.
And a few years ago, you didn't know me from anybody, right?
Ah.
And just through me coaching your son, right, getting to know you guys and stuff like that, we've become very close friends. And I value our friendship and the relationship I have with your family. And with your story, with what you're about to talk about, to be on the other end, man, that was a very scary time. Just being your friend and looking at your family and your kids when they're going through and experiencing this. And you don't wish this on anybody, but the outcome, man, God dang,
That's one of the weird things that I forget, even with my frustrations currently, like and side effects from everything that have gone on, is there's side effects for them. And even like for my wife and for you as a friend and like that part.
So many friends.
Yeah. And
Just the out.
because I didn't
Yeah.
experience that part. Like y'all lived it too. And selfishly, I'll admit it, that gets like, I lose that sometimes.
It's easy.
Because I'm focused on sometimes just making it through the day.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like whether it's mentally or physically or whatever the case, just like everybody else. But yeah, I do, especially with my wife, I do forget that like she held it down. You know what I mean? Like, and even kept everybody informed. And she had, well, spoiler alert, it's due to COVID. She had COVID at the same time now, but I just took a lick and then she didn't,
So let's get into it. So
Yeah.
this is what, 2019?
It was 2020.
20. That's right.
No, actually, it's 3 years, 2021.
Was it?
Mhm.
Okay, so COVID had already been out
Oh,
a
yeah.
bit then.
I had dodged that bullet for a hot minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And then that was what? It was March or April.
April. It was right after Easter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know how you got COVID or where you might have been at the time? That
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not really sure.
probably a sporting event, honestly. Probably a baseball game or something.
I don't know. I would like to know, but I mean, I'm not sure. And again, I had dodged it since it had been out.
Yeah. So I know, through my family, I've lost a couple of people through COVID, when it was first came out. Like one of my best friend's moms, she got it, but this was at a time where they wouldn't let family members in.
That was the weirdest thing for
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. You couldn't go see this person, and the doctors are saying basically, no, well, they're about to die. And you can't do anything.
Yeah.
about
Good
it.
luck.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What the hell? So
Yeah. So basically, I get COVID. My wife and I both get COVID. And I don't know the exact date because everything's a little foggy, but we I'm like down for the count. And at the time, I drank a lot, right? Liquor, and I couldn't even drink, like, and not to make a joke, but I'm like, that's when you know you're sick, like as an alcoholic. You're like, hey, I can't even drink. Like, that's bad. And then I slept one whole day, and I'm like, man, there's something not right here. You know, like I didn't know what the answer was, but I knew something was wrong.
Mhm.
And then, little side note, my buddy Cappy, who plays in the Irish band with me, he's a nurse, and he actually was introduced. He had graduated, gets a job at Health Park. COVID pops up, like a brand new employee, brand new nurse, global pandemic. Welcome to it.
Welcome to the field.
Yeah. So then I'm texting with him. I get like a Publix delivery of an oxygen meter. My oxygen is dipping like into the 80s. And he's like, dude, you've got to go to the hospital. And I'm like, nope. Because I'm like the typical, like, you know, if you don't get it checked out, you're not sick type thing. Typical dude, you know, like the rest of us. Like, hey, my back hurts. Well, you know, it hurts, whatever, you know, like you go get checked out, then they want to like do stuff to you, you know? So, and then I go to the hospital, and it was weird, like a little foreshadowing. We go to Health Park because Cappy was there, my buddy, and Nicole goes, well, yeah, we'll go there in case something pops off. And I'm like, all right, well, whatever. And then she like drops me off. And when she drops me off, it was like, well, yeah, just call me back when you get your medicine and we'll be on the way. And I'm like, okay, cool. You know? So then I go into the hospital. Excuse me. I can remember it like yesterday, and I could barely get the words out. Like, cause you got a mask on. Everybody's contagious. It's awful. And I was trying to say, hey, I have COVID. And like, here's my insurance card with like my license. And I could barely get that out, like oxygen wise. And on a positive note, they moved me like solely into a room by myself. Like I didn't sit in the ER. I was like VIP status immediately, which is, if you've been to a hospital, you know, it's fun when you're for a minute. And then the wheels fall off. Everything goes completely bonkers. Like we go from, all right, that's that. And now we're going to have to get admitted, you know? And I'm like, all right. Again, kind of going with the flow, not feeling great at all, like just bad. But it was wild. They put me, I believe, if I remember right, the 6th floor. And I was texting my buddy Cappy. He's like, well, you're not on the COVID floor, so you're probably doing all right. I'm like, I don't feel all right, right? So then we go through this whole thing, and then I'm like progressively getting worse. Like it felt like it was probably only a couple of days. My wife would know more like of the timeline, but it was like terrible, terrible, terrible. Right. And I'm like, and then finally I remember a nurse coming in and talking to me a little bit. And then we go from there. And again, I'm like not eating nothing, you know, and again, it felt like forever. It was probably just a day or two or whatever. And then this guy comes to me, a doctor, and it was really weird, like out of a movie, you know. He didn't have like the mask on and the getup. He had like this weird helmet on, which I guess blew the air down, like in lieu of a mask. And I'm like, can barely breathe. I'm coughing. It's like a bad time, right? And he like leans over the bed, and I'll never forget this. He goes, Mr. Raftery, do you want to live or die? And I go, I want to live, but you ain't put me on a fucking ventilator. And he calmly went, Mr. Raftery, I'm going to ask you again. Do you want to live or die? And I was like, this guy looks like an astronaut. Like in my brain, you know what I mean? I'm like, my brain was still firing, right? You know what I mean? And I'm like, what is happening? Yeah, right? So then I call Nicole on the phone, and this is where like you guys in the community sort of pick up the story. I say to her over the phone, I'm like, listen, and I would love this to be a story of like you see in the movies, you know, where you're like, God, please spare me and I'll do your work and I'll be the best Ryan I can be, and I'm begging you none of that happened, right? So Nicole's like, they can't put you on a ventilator because if you remember, people were dying left and right on ventilators, but I could not breathe on my own.
Yeah.
So then the doctor, I'm like, all right, let's do it. And I say to Nicole, I'm like, everything's going to be fine. Again, I had this like, I wish I was like this slick with like the lottery. Like it was like, I knew I was going to be okay. I didn't know what was going to happen. I had no idea, right? But I knew at that moment in time, I was going to be fine. And I said to her, I was like, just keep the PMA, positive mental attitude. And then I go, and keep the faith. It's all good. And I hung up the phone. So then this is where like things get real. They move me out of the room. And when you've been in the hospital for a minute, you're like just happy to be moving down the hallway. So I'm like kind of trying to take it in and like breathe and like, you know what I mean? Again, it's bad. And this is the weirdest part. Nobody says to me, hey, this is what's going to happen, which is probably a good thing because I would have freaked. So I have no idea what's happening. I have no idea what's going on. And again, like you said, no family has come to visit. No, nothing. The people, I'm in a room by myself. I only get help if I call, like hit the little button. I'm like, hello, I need help. So then we go up to this door. They buzz me into the door. And like, it's a team of people. And we're going in the ICU. And I'm like, and this part is like a movie because we came around a corner and there had to be 30 people outside of this room. And I went, oh shit. Because I was going in that room. Mm-hmm. And there's like, it looked like whatever, Grey's Anatomy or like ER, that old, I'm old. So, you know what I mean? Like, hey, and I'll never forget that group of people all gowned up, masked up, like hazmat city. And here comes patient 0. And I remember them going, and this used to trigger me a lot afterward, right? They have the drop ceilings in the hospital. And whenever I would see one, I would get like uncomfortable. So I'm on my back and they go, this is the last word I hear. They go, words I hear. They go, yeah, we're going to have to move him. We're going to have to slide him. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. And then the lights went out. And I can remember the drop ceiling, like seeing it and like sliding over and like, boom. Like if we unplug Joe's computer right now, like done.
Jesus.
And then 16 days go by and I wake up and the nurses are like freaking out because I'm like, hey, how you doing? I was even like trying to be funny. That I had no idea what had gone on. Mm-hmm. Right. So I'm like, the one nurse leans into me and she's like, you know, you're a miracle, right? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I go, I went to bed yesterday. I went to sleep and I go, and now I'm awake. She's like, no. And like, they were super professional and, you know, and like really good to me. I have no complaints whatsoever, but like nobody would fill me in, right? On what was going on. So then we got to talking. And then finally they did let Nicole come to see me. And then she started to fill me in on what had gone on. But to backtrack just a minute, she has COVID at the same time. Hospice calls her. And they go, you got to make arrangements. She goes, arrangements for what? She's like, yeah, he's not going to make it. So then that's when they allowed her to come in. And I, again, for those scoring at home, I'm sleeping right now. I had no idea any of this is going on. She goes, they're like, yeah, now you can come in. She comes in and they're like, made her gown up and everything else. And she's like, why? I have it. Right? Like she didn't care. Like, who cares? Like we were both sick. And a weird side story is a buddy of mine, Steve. Unfortunately, he's there because his mom's sick. And I'm in the room next to his mom. Oh. Yeah. And he sees my name on the door and asks the nurse, hey, that's Ryan? And again, they can't say anything, you know, because of HIPAA and everything. And the nurse is like, well, if you know the family, you should probably get in touch. Like, it's not good. I'm like, oh my God. And so then we go through all of that. And again, I have no idea that any of this is going on. And then shortly after that, I had kind of come to. And it was a couple of things, but one of the major things was I was having panic attacks while I was in a coma. I do take medicine for anxiety, but I wasn't getting any of it. And that's what my wife was like, dude, you got to give him something to like calm him down a little bit. And I'm like, I make the joke, I slept for 16 days. I've been exhausted ever since, like, cause that's what it was like. And then, so then Nicole comes in to see me and I'm like, again, cause it's funny. I play music and I play in a band and stuff, but I don't want any like accolades. It's weird. Like I'm in the back. I drive the boat. You know what I mean? That's what I always say. And like all the staff, they're like, oh my God. And I'm like, y'all need to like chill out. Like, what are you talking about? And then that's when Nicole fills me in on everything that had gone on. She's like, you have no idea. And then they started asking me who the president was. Like, where are you? I'm like, I think I'm in Fort Myers. Like, I don't know. Because then they're like, you've been asleep for 16 days. And I'm like, oh, okay. And there was a time, this is funny because we got to it gets heavy, but we'll make a joke because there was a time there they wanted to do ECMO, which is a machine that they plug you into. And they only have one I believe, in Tampa and Orlando. So it was like, I read through my chart too at the same time, like, because I have the My Chart app, you can like see what they did to me. And it's like possible candidate for ECMO. So with ECMO, this is where it's funny. It's, you'd have to be airlifted. And I would have woke up literally like in Orlando or Tampa and been super pissed that I rode on a helicopter for the first time ever. And I was asleep. Dude, yeah, dude. Because I'm like, bro, how are you going to like put me on a helicopter and I don't even know what's happening? Right. You know what I mean? Like, and they're like, I'm like, not cool, guys, not cool. So, no, and a huge shout out to Nicole because of like when she did come in, and again, she didn't know that it was hospice, like coming in to call her in. She had brought in, I make pickles and, I like barbecue and stuff like that. She had brought pickles for the nurses. She had said to them, hey, music's super important to him. Put some music on. And then like one nurse couldn't figure out my iPhone and then finally figured out my iTunes and like was playing stuff that was familiar to me. And like, and then she was talking to me. She made the nurses FaceTime her. She would call like almost every hour on the hour, 24 hours a day. She literally saved my life, because it was all these things that were familiar to me and all these things that like, you would not have received because nobody was allowed in the room. You know what I mean? Like if you got sick and I had to come to the hospital, I'd be like, Andy, what's up, man? You gonna be all right? Like I'll bring you a sandwich or what, and then we talk a little bit and we're like, hey, all good, bud. Like I was by myself for like, it was that part, like looking back on it, I'm like, cause I didn't even rehab hospital. I'm like, again, by myself, like, and that part was really weird, but yeah. And it's funny. There's funny parts to the story, even though it is so sad. Or not sad, it's just crazy. Then I get like stepped down, right? And I get back to like, it's like you start here, go to ICU, come back here, and then they're like, we're moving you. And I'm like, okay. So I get moved to a room and this old doctor comes in. And again, keep in mind, I have no idea who helped me, nothing. Because I would run into people and they would go, oh, I was like your nurse the first night you were in ICU. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, oh my God, and you made it, and I like, again, they know me and I have no idea who anybody is. Like, it was like, I had crazy fever dreams and like all this crazy stuff that happened. That might be another episode, but like, because that's a lot. And then this guy comes up to me and he's like, Mr. Raftery? I'm like, okay, yeah. Like, again, I have no idea who you are. You know my name. And he was like old fashioned too. It was funny. He's like, this is not a business call. It's a personal call. I'm like, all right, what's happening? Like, again, I have no idea what I'm doing or what happened or what went on. He's like, I just wanted to say thank you for the pickles. And I'm like, what? So then again, I have to get back on the phone, call Nicole and be like, how's this guy know I make pickles? And then even that's in my chart too, which is hilarious. Like, you know, and then, but when back to, I know what you're going to ask me, I think the complications from the coma, I woke up with radial nerve palsy in this hand and a completely torn shoulder and bicep. And I didn't know that at the time. They had done an MRI on me in the hospital, and they thought I had a stroke because I couldn't use my arm for I didn't use my arm for 1 year. And then finally it was figured out what was wrong with it. But that part, to me, even present day, is like the most frustrating versus the COVID stuff. You know what I mean? Because again, after that, basically it's crazy to think about, but I got moved to a rehab hospital. In the rehab hospital, I had to learn how to walk again, learn how to talk again. Like, they had to make sure I could chew food, which is like, again, I had to learn how to breathe. Like, dude, you had to
You start over.
Yeah. Yeah, I make the joke. I'm like, how many people you know how to learn how to walk twice in their life? You know, like, and again, there's certain things that still trouble me currently, you know, but it's a daily fight, you know. My mom used to say everybody's got their cross, you know, so it's like, you're not getting out of this thing like scot-free. Sorry, everybody, you know.
Yeah.
But
so going back to the 16 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and I'm gonna give Nicole a huge shout out right here. She kept everybody status.
Oh yeah,
the entire thing. Facebook updates, you know, live videos, stuff like that, and you can just see the wear and tear that it was. I didn't know she had COVID as well.
Right?
Maybe I didn't. I forgot, but this should just drained the energy and the worry in her face.
Oh yeah.
You know, of course the boys and stuff, they seem like they pretty strong throughout it. I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
she tried to stay as positive as she could.
of course. Yeah, they did. We didn't, even when she went to the hospital, when she came to see me in the hospital, like to say like last rites, hey, see you later, like say goodbye. She didn't tell them she was going.
Yeah.
And like, no, and that part was weird. And then it's weird present day because of, like you said, Facebook and Facebook memories and everything. It's like PTSD city, like when they come up. I'm like, wait, like I hate social media and I love social media. I love it for like I said, the memories. Like you got kids too. Like we look and see, oh, look, they were little guys and yada, yada, yada. And then, but those days come around and it's like, nope, where? No, sir.
It's the same when August comes.
Yeah.
All of a sudden. So I could imagine the reoccurring, triggers.
Oh yeah.
No. But she kept everybody's status, and I know you had this just crazy outpouring. So many shares, so many comments.
It was
prayers and everything. Then I don't know what that was. We keep rolling, and so many comments and shares and stuff, and people just in your corner.
Oh, 100%.
And she kept us all updated consistently, constantly through all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, man, when you finally, came to, and I'm just speaking from
of course,
my personal, viewpoint. I remember exactly where I was.
No kidding.
What I was doing. I was in my parking lot at my job.
Mm-hmm.
And I was walking back into the building, and my phone rings, and it's you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no fucking way.
Right?
Like, this is not real.
Yeah, I jammed a lot of people up on accident.
I thought it was maybe Nicole calling or something, and I answer, and I hear your voice.
Sounded like Darth Vader.
But it was you, and I immediately started all.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what to say. And you're like, it's crazy, dude, isn't it? I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, man, I was so happy it just for you and your family and that you pulled out of it. And then I think he's alive.
Mhm.
Right. Then you don't even think about the side effects.
Oh, yeah.
What it did to you. But I'm just lucky you're awake.
Oh, dude.
You know, glad
That was
I could hear your voice.
that was a big part of the battle was living. You know what I mean? We'll figure out the rest.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that because I called my buddy Dan Smith. He answered the phone and he said to me, he goes, "I'm really sorry. I don't know what to say." Like same thing. It was like a ghost call.
It really was, because I think one of the last updates that she had put on there, it sounded bad. Like when in episode 1, whenever I kind of run down.
Oh, yeah.
a little bit, I counted them out too.
Yeah.
I thought that it was a wrap. Then
We got to 2. 1,
Yeah.
2. No, dude, I kicked out, bro. Like, let me tell you something, brother. Yeah, dude. And then that was Carter's dad, Chris, my other buddy. Again, close-knit Storms family. And like our kids have come up together. He jokes. He's like, "Bro, I had my like tattoo tribute picked out to you and all." He goes, "And you ruined it." You know, like,
yeah, no, it was. And when I say we thought
oh yeah.
worse, it was bad, man.
Even talking about it to this day is very odd, right? And then I come home and I forget where we were, in Publix, or we went to get breakfast, because that was the other thing. I didn't really like get out of the house either because I could barely walk. Like I had a walker, I had home therapy, all the things, right?
And no beard.
And no, that was the other thing. Y'all, they shaved my beard.
I couldn't believe it.
That was the last time. I guess, yeah, dude. That was the other thing. Nicole goes, "There's a lot to fill you in on." And then I go, "Yeah." And she's like, "And you don't have a beard." And I went, "Is that necessary?" She was like, "Oh, yeah." Because the machine wouldn't stay taped to my face. Yeah. And, but back to where we were, I don't remember. This lady goes, "Oh, you're him." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "Can I give you a hug?" I'm like, again, a guy that doesn't like pray. I'm like, "I guess." I don't. Still to this day, don't know who she is. But she knew the story. She knew, all of that.
I mean, like I said, I can only speak for myself.
Right.
I had my family members in other states praying for you, like
Yeah.
following your.
When I finally met your sister, you were like, "Yeah, this is right, dude." I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" Like, yeah, it's like everybody knows, which is cool, because that's one thing I've learned. Well, one of the many things I've learned, I should say, is like now I'm an open book.
Yeah.
And before I was so shut off to the world, like even talking to you or on this podcast about like even having anxiety or anything, like when things get real like that, like there is no facade. Like you can't, because again, Nicole's like giving people updates. I went from like this idea that like people would judge me for that to, well, it's a part of the narrative, so we need to talk about it because this is why he's doing so bad. So that kind of flipped the script on everything. Like that's why I'm so vocal about that. I'm so vocal about my mental health and just talk, like letting it out of the closet, so to speak, of like, hey, y'all, we're not alone, And I referenced my buddy Dallas earlier. He is he sings in a band called Maylene and the Sons of Disaster. A few years back, he's from Williston.
Mm-hmm.
So a few years back, he was riding a 4-wheeler, crashes the 4-wheeler. The person that finds him calls him in as a dead body because there was blood everywhere. Same thing. So it's like he cheated death. I cheated death. We're super good friends. So it's odd that we have this in common, but we also lean on one another a lot, and they just wrapped up their first big tour. Like they finally toured again. And it's something, again, an odd thing that we share, but it keeps us going. You know what I mean? Like, because again, you can't how many people beat death, and even buddies of mine are like, "You're like a cat. You got like 9 lives." I always joke, I'm like, "Y'all should have killed me when you had the chance." I'm coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, you lose How much range do you say you have in your hand now?
Oh, it's almost like there's nerve damage in there, and it's like pins and needles. That's the other weird thing. I'm tattooed on this side, right? But I can't feel this. So it would have been ideal to not be tattooed, because then I would have felt the tattoo. Like, I got tattoos on this arm, but I feel that.
Yeah.
So the outside of my arm is like, I don't want to say paralyzed, but like asleep is what it feels like. And then the range of motion's a little bit different. I had what's called radial nerve palsy. So what happened is they rerouted my hand, like, to make it work. They borrowed like tendons from over here and like placed them over here. Like, I can only give you 1.5 thumbs up. Like, that my grip as a drummer and as anything, holding a pen, cooking, whatever you want to talk about. I know what is it called? Inflection or whatever is not great, but again, I can grip. So that part's fine. But again, the weirdest part was we went a year without knowing it could be surgically repaired, and then I met Dr. Mahalik in Fort Myers, actually did my shoulder. And then his partner in the same office, which is like a godsend, she came in and went, let me guess, you can't do this and you can't do that. She's like, yeah, I can fix that. I'm like, what? So I went from like everybody going, well, you didn't have a stroke, but we don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
So like 2 doctors basically in the same appointment going, there's a little bit of hope here, And it was funny. We'll fast forward a little bit, because when we got the band back together and started playing, I had a pair of drumsticks that I would practice with, because I would like sit in my little like chair that like raised up for me because I couldn't stand upright, and I would like just try. And then finally I had like gone to hand therapy and all these different things, and they were great too. And like the whole gamut. Again, I should probably still be in therapy now, like, to be honest with you, because I lack strength and stuff, but we don't have a ton of time. I wrote her a note, like a handwritten note, and said, like, I couldn't even have done this without you. Like, that's how important she was to me. And I gave her that like pair of drumsticks, and she like put them on the shelf in her office, which is super cool. And then when the band got back together, we played St. Patrick's Day, same thing. I break a drumstick there at the show, and I bring that to Barb and the crew at the Cape Coral Hand Therapy. And I'm like, listen, I go, this is a funny like present, in a weird way, but I'm like, without you, this doesn't happen,
Man, so you kind of went through that a little fast.
I know.
Right? So
spoiler alert.
yeah, so 3 years basically of therapy and working on your arm and your hands, and you post a lot on social media for your updates and stuff like that, and you could see just consistent improvement over time. Like, if you go back and look at them now, and so I just always felt like there's going to be a time when Ryan's going to get back to performing. It might not be right away, but you just kept going, right? Practice and then practice and practice and practice.
Yeah,
and that you make it easy because you do share that stuff, and for people that follow you, like, I think you had I don't know how many followers through shares from friends to other friends and stuff like that. You probably thousands of people rooting for your comeback.
Oh yeah, 100%. And that, again, the blessing of social media, people, again, you share the story, and then you meet other people that have also gone through the same thing, which is wild. And then, again, I do have to say a little side note here, because you and I have talked about this a lot, like PMA, like positive mental attitude, right? It's not a new idea. I didn't come up with it. It's in that book, Think and Grow Rich. It's an old book and an old idea. And actually, the Bad Brains, an old punk rock band, they would sing a lot about it. But then another guy who I love is John Joseph, who was in the Cro-Mags. He wrote a book called The PMA Effect. And that book, like, that and my wife probably saved my life. Because I was like, prior to getting sick, in a pretty dark place, and again, drinking a lot. That's another bonus. I'm sober since all this stuff.
There you go. How long?
3 years.
3 years.
Yep.
Do you have the days? How many days?
It's on my phone. But
It's impressive.
yeah, and so through that, like, I reach out to John Joseph, and I'm like, listen, man, like, the work and like, because it's weird, like, for as connected as we are, you never know what kind of impact you have on anybody. And that's what I said to him. I'm like, bro, like, this book, and I shared my story with him, and then he wound up following. Like, it was cool, you know what I mean? Like, again, it was like one of your heroes following you. Like, I'm like, this is weird. But and even another buddy of mine had put on a post about something recently. He's like, you taught the entire community of Cape Coral about like PMA and like positive mental attitude. And all it means is like things are going to happen to all of us. You know, if you can try to maintain some sort of positivity within that, you know, without it, you're doomed, in my opinion.
Hold your hand out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So Ryan had all these made, you know, I know I used to have one. Then it got all stretched out.
Yeah. You should. I might have one in my car. You should tell me I would have brought you one.
Yeah, no, I
have like 500
every single day.
I have like 500 of them in my room. So the idea was to make this warrior thing like a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like most things, I start them and never finish them. So there's that. We got a ton of merch, but
Yeah.
not much else. But yeah, I'll check the car before we leave.
All right.
Yeah.
So you have these, and Ryan updating everybody, keeping everybody posted on his rehab, and through all of this, like I don't know if you're realizing it or not, but you were inspiring people, right?
No, yeah.
As it's going, as you're overcoming all these obstacles and trying to get your life back to as normal as possible, you don't know how many people's watching.
Right.
And feeding off of that. Like we're men. We struggle with so much mental health.
Of course.
And I look to you more than you probably know for the positivity that you put out on your posts. But then on the flip side of that, I can see when things are starting to not be so
Oh, yeah.
positive. And how you're able to like put yourself in check and reel that back in. Like,
Right.
It's tough to do. I struggle with it.
Right.
And it's for somebody like you, if you don't know, brother, you're helping somebody. And I'm one.
Well, I appreciate that, because that's part of the reason I do post so much is like, again, that idea that we're not alone. But then, like you said, a lot of that stuff I'm telling to myself.
Yeah.
Like, hey, dude, like, remember, you know what I mean? Like, or remember to try even, you know, like.
It's, you know, and I find myself posting some, I don't want to say dark stuff, but like there's a meaning why I'm posting.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody's feeling the same way as I am, and somebody's going to reach out and check on me. And I don't know if that's selfish of me to put that out there like that, but it's always, I mean, you're one of the first, right? Or a family member or something like that, but we're not alone. We have people out there that care about us and want us to overcome whatever obstacle that we're facing. And I think that with your story and what you go through every single day, you've inspired the hell out of so many more people than you realize. So when you're down, when you're having a down day, and I'm sure other people do, try to help you out as much as you
Of course. Well, and that's, again, we say like we're all like, we're not alone, but we're all in this thing together. Like, I'm not going to turn it into a political conversation at all, because that's a bad, terrible idea. But like, what happened to just
Trumpomania.
no, right? Which, hey, whatever anybody's into, you know what I mean? Like, let it fly, brother. But what just happened to being humans, you know, and like caring for each other, no matter what, like lost somewhere. Yeah, it's terrible. It's like, and I think that's a lot of my, I guess, motivation for that stuff. Cause it's like, dude, we're all on this rock together. Like, can we just not be terrible to one another? Like, that's it. I don't expect much else. Just don't be terrible.
Right.
Like, the bar's pretty low, and somehow or missing, you know? And
True.
like they always say, like, be the change you want to see. Like, I think that's some of my motivation too. It's like, why do you have to be so mean getting a cup of coffee? Like, why do you have to be mean to somebody getting takeout food? Why do you have to, like, there's no reason for any of it.
It's,
you know,
like I kind of wrapped up the last episode with just go out and be the reason somebody smiles.
Yeah.
It's something as simple as holding the damn door open.
Anything. Yeah.
And smile while you're doing it. Like that could change somebody's whole day.
And it's happened to me in the past. I remember I was, I had to file a motion when I did bail, and I was just not in the mood. I was like, and aggravated, and like when you, like you said, you kind of can't snap out of it. And I get on the elevator, and this guy gets on. I'm like, hey, how you doing today? And he goes, I'm too blessed to be stressed. I went, I'm using that today. Because, and that flipped my thing around, because here I was just, who knows why I was so aggravated, but it was a thing that I couldn't get out of. You know what I mean? Or like just in a pissed off, you know, and like, because again, these things happen to all of us. We're all human. It's not like I'm a robot over here going, oh, you know, PMA. Like, dude, it's, and again, those are reminders for me. Without all that stuff, I don't know where I'm at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not to be weird, but that's the facts. You know, it's like, again, little daily reminders.
So for 3 years, rehabbing, trying to fix yourself and get that range of motion back in your hands and stuff to be good enough to, I'm trying to put this right. Okay.
You're fine.
To be good enough to be back in the band, it's one thing. To be good enough in your own mind to be back in the band is a complete other monster, right? So you finally get there. And I'm sure the anxiety was through the roof that day, but it was in Naples, correct?
Yeah.
Your comeback was down in Naples, right? And I wanted to be there so fucking bad. Man. I wanted to.
Way to go, Andy.
I dropped the ball, brother. I dropped the ball. I wanted to be there so bad. And I saw the live videos. I'm watching. I'm cheering. I'm teary-eyed, right? Because you got to remember everything that you went through. Remember all the videos that Nicole was putting up about, I don't know if my husband's going to come home. Right. You know, I don't know if my kids are going to see their dad again. And it's just, you know, talk about movie references and stuff like that. And this is kind of where you get that slow song playing and you're doing all the flashbacks in your head.
We're running to the finish line.
Yeah. And you're remembering all the crap that you went through. And then here it is. Here's the payoff. You're alive. You're with your band. You're with your family and friends and everybody that loves you and cares about you. And you're doing your fucking thing on the drums, man.
Yeah, it was even like to hear you say it like that. Like, it's like, because music's like the best thing ever for me. You know what I mean? And like, yeah, it was, I think back on it, it's vivid, you know? And again, my buddy Dallas came down from Williston. He was there. And like, it was funny, like a side note, because it was St. Patrick's Day, right? So the bar is packed. And again, a lot of people had come to see me. And like, it was really wild because, again, Cappy was instrumental in my going to the hospital, getting better, you know. He didn't put me in the coma. But you know, and he was there, like we shared the stage together. Like, it was weird, you know what I mean? And like just odd, you know.
We call that coming full circle.
Yeah. And and like playing, and we, again, because it's St. Patrick's Day and we're an Irish band, we had like, when we were at our heyday, we were playing probably around 40 songs a night. We would play 3 separate sets. But this was abbreviated because they wanted to fit more bands in. And I'll never forget the band that was supposed to play behind us, like trying to rush us off the stage. And I was like, dude, what's the big deal? And I said to my buddy Kelly that sings, and I go, hey, we got like 2 more songs left. Like, chill out, man. You know, like, because they were like kind of at the door, you know what I mean? Like waiting, like, yeah. And then we do a cover of it's called In the Pines by Muddy Waters. It was made famous by Nirvana on the Unplugged. Where Did You Sleep Last Night is how they named it. And we do this. It's very, it's always the closer. It's very dramatic. It starts with a banjo and like the fiddle saws, and like it builds and builds and builds and builds. And then we do like a little bit of a jam part, and it goes back down and then back up and then back down and then back up. And then, but we could abbreviate it, right? Like I'm like, it's funny. I don't like jam bands, but I like to like jam. Like I like to improv. I like jazz. I like all these different things, but not a fan of the Grateful Dead or any of that stuff. Like it just like sounds like a fan running in the background. Anyway, so Kelly's like, all right, we'll do that song. And he like leans into me and he's like, but cut it short, you know? And I'm like driving the boat and I go, no, fuck that. I go, I beat death. I go, I'm taking this. Like, you're going to wait. Dude, it's my moment. That song had to be 10 minutes. But like, dude, I brought it like, and he was like looking back like one of these, like, dude, these guys are, and I'm like, what are you going to do to me? And like, that kind of became my attitude for a lot of things. Like, dude, you can't do anything to me, you know, like you get basically, you know, yeah. Goggins like, dude, I've already been through it all, you know, like, and yeah. And we played and dude, like this was the other thing. They were a reggae band. No offense to reggae. I like reggae. I'm not a hater, but it's St. Patrick's Day. Like, you know, you need banjos and fucking kilts. Yeah, dude. And like that, yeah, Cabby had his kilt on. Like, Kelly plays tin whistle. We got guitars. And like, there's a lot going on. Like, and y'all are like, beat him up, jabba, you know, like, dude.
Oh, that, so, that, and just the comeback, man. I mean, everything that you went through, the adversity, all that stuff, you cheated death. Great. I mean, and you're here. You're able to tell your story.
Yeah, man.
And help people. And that's exactly why I wanted you to be the first interview on this podcast.
Well, thank you.
You are, when we think talking grit, when we think of somebody that's actually went through the trenches, the mud, got the shit kicked out of them by life, and you absolutely overcame it. And it is the thing. You got to one milestone. You got to,
oh yeah.
You're still going.
Oh,
you're still.
Yeah, that's what's weird. I've had to like change how I play a little bit and stuff, but and adapt differently because I got like a weird leg thing too, but I'm still doing it. I'm not going to not do it. You know, I mean, another guy that I reached out to was the drummer from A Ghost Inside, and he had a similar situation. They were in a bus crash though, and he lost his leg.
Yeah.
And then his dad made up this apparatus to where he can play double bass again, like, because they play like metalcore stuff. And it's so funny, like the people you meet and reach out to, and just, you know, my wife laughs because she's like, you like mention somebody in your social medias and they respond. And I'm like, you don't know if you don't ask, you know? So I was like, yeah, I have this weird injury under my collarbone that caused my wrist to drop. It's under your it's called your brachial plexus. It's a series of nerves right here. And he goes, yeah, I have the same injury. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, we both play drums. Again, they're a huge band, you know what I mean? But, and I'm like, and I'm a drummer and this and that. I'm like, dude, thank you for your story. Right? Like, keeping me going, you know what I mean? Like, my man lost his leg. Like, and then he takes his prosthetic off and he plays with like his hip, and it's incredible. Like, and they're touring, they're like ripping it up, you know? And again, thanking God they're alive, you know what I mean? Like, that's a lot of what came out of this for me too, was like that gratitude of even on the day, you know what I mean? Like, dude, I'm grateful for right now. I'm grateful for this podcast, you know, I'm grateful for Sloppy Joe. We're putting out a mixtape. You don't know it, dude.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah, we're going to dust off his rap skills. I'm going to make him. Yeah. I'm bigger than you, Joe. So.
we got to get Joe on the mic.
Yeah.
And dude,
yeah.
So write something,
dude,
something pretty.
We'll get Patrick to beatbox. I'll play drum.
Let's go.
Yeah. You know how to play keyboard or something, Mandy?
I'll do the Carlson in the background.
All right.
I can do that.
You play the radio?
Yeah. So, Ryan, I want to thank you for coming on.
Of course.
So, thank you for telling your story. It did exactly what I thought it was going to do. It's got me fired up and motivated, and I know that not every day is going to be bad. Not every day is going to be dark. But if I do hit something, a wall or something like that, I got good people like you surrounding me to help.
Of course, that's that old cliche, like takes a village, It's like surround yourself with good people, man, and just try, because we're all just, that's the other thing. We're all just trying.
That's right. So, to wind this up, leave us with your best bit of advice.
It's not even something that I came up with. Again, stolen from I don't even know where. And it's something that, back to my buddy Dallas, that we share. It's I didn't come this far to come this far, because it gets easy to want to give up, and like the road gets long. The road gets long for normal people that haven't been through anything, right? The road gets long for the mom out there getting her kid to practice and doing whatever she got. You know what I mean? Like things get hard for all of us, but you didn't come this far to come this far. Like, this isn't the end of the story for any of us.
Sure.
And as long as you keep moving forward and, again, basically just trying, that's all you can do. I mean, even if you fail, who cares? Get back up again. You're not going to hit a home run every time, or what do they always say? Get back on the horse,
Get back on the horse.
Yeah, dude. I mean, this thing, it'll eat you alive if you let it. And that's the thing. All this stuff is so it doesn't.
Yeah.
To put it pretty direct, and that's what all that stuff means to me, So, but yeah, thank you guys again for having me. This has been awesome.
This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Ryan, Joe, thank you for producing behind the scenes
right
there, keeping us on track, keeping us on our timeline.
Right.
We can talk about this stuff for hours.
Making us sound good.
Yeah.
Maybe making us look good. I don't know. He's not a miracle worker, y'all.
Yeah. We might have to get Patrick to help us edit some of this.
Right. Dude, there'll be like plushies in the background and creatures, and like, I don't even know. It would take a turn. It would it would be a different podcast than what you're intending.
Yes. So, once again, Ryan, thank you so much. Want to thank Lilulo's Pizzeria for sponsoring this episode. Like Joe, once again, man, I can't do this podcast without you, brother. And just very, very thankful that you came on here, told your story, and hopefully it's reaching somebody right now listening to it. And, this is what we're all about. This is the Talk Your Grit show. And until next time, be good to yourself. Be good to the perfect stranger you see on the side. Anybody that you encounter. Be a positive influence on somebody. Smile, wave, say good morning, something. Do something positive to affect a positive change in this crazy world we live in.
Amen. Yes, sir. You couldn't have said it any better.
Positive mental attitude.
Yeah, buddy.
Let's keep that going.
Yes, sir.
Until next time, I'm Andy. You got Sloppy Joe. You got Ryan here. And this is the Talk Your Grit show.